Welcome to the exclusive. I'm your host, Sharon Tharp. I'm so excited to break down the episode of The Traitors, a very hyped up episode, which we will dive into. And I'm joined today by a brilliant mind, survivor, alum, and also alum of Traitors Canada, Omar Zaheer. Omar, thank you for being here.
Hello, yes, my debut on your podcast post Traitors Canada. So how exciting. But I have a
Yes,
new way to look at the show. So we'll see.
exactly. And that's why I'm happy to have you here because I want your sort of perspective on a lot of this stuff.
Mhm.
But before we dive in, just overall thoughts on the season. Are you enjoying it more or less than previous seasons? Like, what do you think so far?
I think I was really excited to see especially Rob, um, but also Jam Jam and Natalie, and then the other reality players as well, Tiffany and Ian. And so it was obviously like a kind of a disappointing start to the season, but it was just so exciting to see especially Rob back on TV after so long and then working with him in the podcast world. So I think that was the highlight of it for me. And just even though it was short, it was sweet, and it really wasn't his fault how he went out, which is classic traders. So that was really special and that was really enjoyable. But I would say as a whole, it hasn't really captured me in the way that other seasons
Mm,
have before. But also, to be fair, like I really binge watched a lot before going on the show. And so I was kind of traded out a little bit, but at
that's
the
fair.
same time, the last two episodes especially have really started to heat up, and so I'm sure it's going to be a really fun ending. And I have been. It's not like I don't enjoy it, but I did think there have been
Exactly.
better seasons, but it's been good.
Yeah, I feel the same. I think solid season. Boot list was has been brutal. uh,
Suboptimal.
this episode was hyped up a lot. Do you feel like it lived up to the hype, or
I didn't really think like I think it was good. I
no?
just
I
wish I hadn't
agree.
heard all that hype about it, because
Yep.
I think I would have enjoyed it more. I thought something more crazy was going to happen. And I think I would have really enjoyed it a lot more had I not had the expectation that it was going to be like here when it was probably like here, which is still good, but it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. It was quite a dramatic exit. Like
Mm,
Jam Jam really killed that exit. Natalie fighting for the potion was very funny, but it wasn't like what I thought it was gonna be, you know?
yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. Do you think it's like because we're so used to watching games on shows, like our expectations are higher? Because like Alan's, going around saying this is like amazing episode. They're really and listen, I think it was a really fun episode. I just think you're almost always setting us up for disappointment in a way.
It's true. That's why, it's kinda back to, like, Worlds Apart, a Survivor. They're like, "This is the best season ever." And I was like, "This is, like, not
I
just
have
not
not
that
rewatched
season."
that season because it's
Yeah,
not
I was
my
like, "This is
favorite.
just not only just not good, but, like, it's actually bad." And then if you remember, like, before Cagayan, there was nothing. Like, people were speculating it was gonna be a bad season because there was nothing that was really like, the hype around it actually seemed very tempered and, like, not very good, and it just blew away everybody's expectations. So, I think
Mm,
sometimes the key to, success is to just set the bar low, but I think what was really cool about like the aesthetic was really cool.
yes.
There's certain things that it becomes like a cultural or iconic moment, and like the banquet, I can picture that and I can see how that could be a fun thing moving forward with tweaks or changes or like having it be a central part of the theme. And they've done banquets before on Traders, but it never quite popped like this, I would say. But it wasn't like I think they could have let it sit in its moment rather than trying to make it a moment.
Totally agree. I can see them definitely submitting this one for the Emmy. I thought, like you said, I think the production value, I think the costumes, the set, it was amazing. I even thought, the editing was great in terms of, I mean, the way that they edited Lisa Rinna was kind of iconic. Just in terms of the glamour and the. But I had a
Yeah.
question, Omar. Like in terms of like clothing, obviously, I think they tell you ahead of time of like what to bring, but like the level of costume it was, if someone just said a basic, I don't
Yeah.
think I would have went to that level.
No, and I don't think that that was, when we got our wardrobe, actually, it was kind of funny because the wardrobe package was all based off the US one. There was literally screenshots of
Wow.
Rachel Riley, Stephanie LaGrossa and being like, "This is good, this is bad." And actually, what's really funny is that all of
This is
Rachel's
bad.
outfits were like not like don't dress like this because it wasn't like so much that, which is actually very funny given how Big Brother went with Jimmy and whatnot. But I think it was more so for the color schemes on camera and what to make pop. And they said, kind of dress for the fall, and then here, even though it's filmed in the middle of summer, and then here is also like have one like nice dinner outfit. And that would not to me have screamed whatever this was. So I'm sure they got told
No.
bring like in something extravagant. I'm sure of that. Or maybe they had like a wardrobe person that helped people. I'm not sure, but
Yeah, I'm gonna ask because I'm just curious, like, I just wouldn't think to be that level. I'd be worried I'd be, like, overdoing it. I don't know, maybe I
mm,
overthink this stuff, but I was just curious. But yeah, let's dive in. First with this banquet, the Jam Jam goes out here. Is this a really
drama.
bad way to go?
Yeah.
Or what do you
Well, you
think?
know what? Okay. If you're gonna get murdered, this is the way to go. Like it's
It's a
dramatic.
moment.
It's in the biggest moment of the season. It's like the Ekin of it all. And so if you are, and I always think 9.9 times out of 10, better to get banished than murdered on the Traitors because you get your moment. This was a
Yep.
moment. He got his moment. And I think that for a murder, this is one of the top three ways I've seen people go out. I feel like maybe even top two or one.
Yeah. I thought
Certainly
it was
better than the
very
way Rob went
dramatic.
out.
Yeah, even Monet was kind of like they didn't even give Monet any screen time, I feel like, before that, so,
Yeah.
it was kinda like, but talk to me about because there's a lot of debate online about Jam Jam being allowed, and I don't put this on Jam Jam, I put this on production, of, like, being allowed to say something after being murdered. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's kinda interesting because they are very I don't know, like, I think it's been geared more towards traders, but, like, in the rules, it's, like, very clear if you are a trader, you cannot give anything away, and that probably goes back to the season 1 of the UK version where that
Yeah.
guy, I think his name was Kieran, totally gave away that Wilfred was a traitor. And it's just like not fun if you do it that way. So I think it's like hammered into you, like don't do that. But if you're not a traitor, like in what world have you ever been a faithful that knows? You don't know anything when you get banished, so you can really say whatever you want. And then when you're murdered, like it's a note in the night and nobody ever knows. So I think the interesting thing about this one is that, everybody was allowed to say their piece throughout the whole thing as they're speculating about who did it. So, and again, just because he said something, it doesn't make it right. And we've seen time and time again that people who are getting, and this is actually what drives me crazy about the shows. People are so stupid that they are always like, oh, well, that person got murdered or that person got banished and they thought that they were the traitor. And it's like, that only really works if it's a traitor, like
Right.
because they're the only ones that know. So you can get murdered or banished and have no idea what's going on. So why are we all of a sudden trusting their opinion on what happened when there's so much about who they suspect that maybe the traders don't even know. So I think that is like if you're a smart player, you would kind of disregard what he said because unless you really but I think where they could actually pick up on it is that her inconsistent story. Like
Yep.
just say you kissed him, who cares? Like that's not how he died. And B, like you saying you didn't is like weird because he has no reason to lie on the way out. He's gone home, you know what I mean? So I think that was
Mhm.
more you can gain information by assessing that part of it as opposed to what he said. It's how she reacted, and I think that is the difference, and that's on her. Um, but I don't think it's like I think it's a gray area. I can see it both ways.
Yeah, I think they also got really caught up in, like, stuff that happened to multiple people. Multiple people were kissed, and Mark Ballas
Mhm.
pointed that out. Multiple people had turkey. So, like, why were they focusing on that? I was gonna say, to be honest, I thought Kristen had the best case for drinking the antidote because I do think the card
Yeah.
thing would have thrown me off.
Yeah,
But what
for
do you
sure.
think about sort of like what would you have been thinking in that moment, do you think?
Well, that's the thing is a lot of these murders in plain sights are so arbitrary that, for instance, I mean, I know the Canada one's better because I watched it more recently, but like when Michael John is like shaking that guy's hand and being like having him say, I trust you, like Michael John could have gone to somebody else after that and had them say the same thing, but they wouldn't die. So
Oh,
maybe it is
true.
the first person that ate turkey or the first person that Lisa kissed. Actually, it was more suspicious for Lisa to have like allegedly kissed Jam Jam and then not kissed anybody else. And when she's saying, "Well, I didn't kiss you, I didn't kiss you," I didn't. Well, maybe that's because that was the murder thing, you know. So it's. I think that the problem is it really could be anything, which if it could be anything, then everything kind of means nothing. And so that's where you have to go based on the vibes of how you feel or just advocate for yourself if you want to be safe. I think that Jam Jam was right, but he was right for the wrong reasons. So it's not and the other thing I would say though is a meta of when there is a murder in plain sight like that, that's kind of like known entity, then you do have to look at the people, the person who was murdered and who is close to them, because it is a lot easier. Like Lisa couldn't get to Colton in the same way she could get to Jam Jam, you know, and they were close to some extent, or at least that's what I've heard. So I think that's a situation where you can
Hmm.
gain information, but it's not directly from what you see because everybody does everything and anything could mean anything. And that means everything means nothing, in my opinion.
No, those are great points. Those are things I haven't even thought about. So, but yeah, Lisa already had heat on her. Do you think she had Jamda not said that? Do you think she would have had more time in the game, or
I
her career was
think
up soon?
I feel like Rob was really going after her. So it may have happened regardless, but it certainly made it a lot easier because her defense was really bad.
It
And
was.
when you're under the magnifying glass and you give a really bad defense like that, there's just no way you're going to come back from that. I think it's possible if he didn't say something that she could have maybe slipped back under the radar. But the way she was kind of responding to people when accused was just not going to work. And so I do think she would have gotten caught up anyways.
Yeah,
And at
I kind
least
of
maybe
agree with
she
that.
wouldn't have had like the overt, like if you have Natalie and her, they both acted or had things against them in the banquet. Maybe if Lisa doesn't, then it swings more Natalie's way. But if she gives the same poor defenses that she was given, then it would probably just go back to her.
How do you think actually Lisa did with the task itself, given how much heat she had? Given it seemed like Candace and Rob were not down to do this. Like, how do you think she did overall?
Yeah, I think Lisa actually did really good with the task itself. Like she pulled that off flawlessly. Like, oh, I'm getting poked, fix it. And you know, he clearly has a good relationship with her. He's happy to do that. Where I think she kind of messed up is that it was probably in her head she almost got stabbed by Rob in the back. She shouldn't really be the one doing this because this is not good for her situation. And she's so focused on how to get herself out of that and pull this off that I bet you she was probably giving subtle hints that she was like thinking about something else or distracted or making the overt kisses so obvious that it registered in Jam Jam's mind, you know? So I'm sure there was some body language secondary to what was happening that led people. I mean, that's why I thought Kevin was a traitor, you know, because he
Mm,
not only the meta of if it's not me, it's probably him, but when I was talking to him after traitor designation, he was just like his mind was somewhere else. You know, he was talking to me, but he was not thinking about what we were talking about. He was thinking about something else, and that is something that is not related to what he's doing with me, but he is you can tell when something is on somebody's mind, which is why it's very smart for people like Rob and Candiace to not do this and not want to know what's
yep.
going on because that is the best way to remain undercover.
Yeah, no, that's smart. I think I spoke to Jam Jam and he mentioned something about he did feel like Lisa's energy was different that day or something. I mean, he talks about that sparkle in people's eyes and stuff. And I do think you can pick up on stuff like that. And I don't think like, again, I think she executed it really well. Her defense, again, I don't think was that great. I thought it was really fun how sort of Alan announced it. I thought it was very dramatic. I thought
Yeah, I
overall
agree.
the banquet and then him getting carried out. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, I agree.
um,
I think it was Rama, and it was almost perfect that it was Jam Jam because he really gave them a moment. Had it
yes.
been like Steven, we wouldn't have seen. And actually, Steven, actually, who the fuck is this man? But he was acting so suspicious as well, being like, "It's not the
Yeah,
turkey.
out of
Yeah, I didn't do
nowhere.
it." Like, it's like, chill, you're fine.
Yeah, yeah. Ugh. Well, real quick, give me a eulogy on Jam Jam's game real quick because, I talked to him too. He said the first half of the game, he was really not much himself. He was really focused on the Michael drama, and I did feel like he seemed off and not having fun and kind of he was I just didn't expect him to play like that. And
Yeah.
then also there was this whole thing like that he wasn't playing with the gamers or whatever. So like what did you think of his game?
Well, was he playing with the gamers? It seemed like not, but it's hard to know everything
No,
that happens because
it didn't seem
even
like it other than Natalie.
but even playing the game and watching it on the show, I feel like proportionally Survivor is more true to the story that's shown than Traitors. And that's not because Traitors does a bad job. It's just that they're framing it as you need to catch the traitors rather than all the nuances of the game. And it really is outcome focused. So if relationships don't matter, they're not shown. And as a faithful who went out mid game, um, both myself and him, like our stories didn't matter that much to the end game. And so a lot of it probably gets left out. But I agree from what we did see, it just did not seem like the joyful Jam Jam, probably because he was so focused. And that's exactly why Michael should not have been on this season. His drama is not worth it. He's a horrible person and he doesn't deserve a platform. And it's disgusting that he got one. And he ruined the vibe of the people there. And I think that is not, worth whatever drama, quote unquote, that they got out of him because it was like there was no air in the season while he was suffocating it.
Yeah,
And that
yeah, it was
led to
kinda
Jam
like
Jam also
we
feeling
needed
that
him to
way.
go.
Yeah. And there was a
Yeah.
difference I felt like in Jam Jam's, attitude in the last 2 weeks without him, but at the same time, Jam Jam's story was never going to be fully shown because of where he went out, and which is unfortunate, but that is what it's like to be the mid-game faithful kill or
Yeah,
banishment.
that's a great point. Yep. I wanna talk about the antidote. Our girl Natalie was
Yeah.
really strong, putting people off. You could tell, Kristen was annoyed, Mara was very annoyed. Did Natalie do too much here? Like, what do we think about this whole thing?
I would say yes and no. Like the thing that's really fucking annoying is that people are so dumb about I don't know, just like reads and like reacting to situations. Like went so hard for it, so she must be a traitor trying to prevent a murder. And like you could maybe argue she's going so hard for it to pretend to be a faithful. But like your first read should be she's so desperate that she thinks she's dying. And it's not like Tara was even killed. Like if Tara was the one, Tara, whatever. Which one is it? Do you know?
I don't even know. Tara?
Tara
I guess it
Lipinski.
depends.
Anyway, so she wasn't even the one murdered. So if this is a traitor trying to prevent a murder, you're just drawing more attention to yourself from somebody who's not getting murdered. Let her drink the antidote. Who cares? And so I think that the obvious read to somebody watching is that Natalie is just like desperate that she thinks she's going home, and that should be a faithful thing. But the fact that they turned it around is so stupid. And also, it does go to show you that even someone that's as strong of a player as Natalie overall, a huge fan, Brown Town all the way. But like this is like classic Natalie behavior when she's on the ropes.
Exactly.
When she's playing out of fear, or when she feels like her back's against the wall, she does play out of fear and make a lot of fear-based decisions rather than taking risks. Like we all saw the "Did you vote who I vote for?" But that's a situation where she has all of the power and the knowledge of what's going down. But when you see her come back on Winners at War from Edge of Extinction, after a long time living there, and she has an immunity idol where it's like you have implicit immunity, now's your time to like play it for somebody else and make a big move. She was too afraid to do it because it's like I've come all this way and I'm going to get cut here. And similarly on this point, it's like so desperate to get
Mm.
that antidote that she might even screw herself over in the process. But I think a smarter player would look at that and be like, that's just desperation because she's a faithful. But that's a lot to ask
Yeah, and
from faithfuls who are often dumb.
well, especially this season. It's episode 7, they finally got one. It was really headed up, I feel like, by Rob. Um,
Right.
but no, I agree. I think listen, to me, it was like classic Natalie. Like I probably wouldn't have suspected her because of that. I also am a little annoyed that like I feel like Tara did the same thing and got less
Yes.
maybe maybe she wasn't as loud as Natalie, but she literally did the same thing and I felt like there was no heat on her. So I was kind of annoyed by that.
Yeah,
Okay.
and but I think that the subtle difference was that Natalie was like Tara was insisting that she wanted it, but most of the other people were talking for her, you know? And but ultimately
That's true.
her reason for wanting it was the same as Natalie's pretty much, you know?
Right, that's what I'm
And
saying.
yeah, but I will say Dorinda was acting weird. Because the thing is, actually between Natalie and I think Natalie had a bigger target on her back as a gamer, so I agree with that. But from what actually happened, Natalie getting served meat or whatever was like different than Tara's because Tara didn't want any turkey and Dorinda was basically like, "Don't even make that a thing. That's not I serve people." I was like that's actually kind of suspicious. But yeah, I don't know. She hasn't been a huge presence on the season, so it's hard to like really gauge where she's at, but clearly she's insulated and has a bunch of people that support her. And I think the gamers this season have really been on the back foot and have paid the invoice for the meta of the show. And so not having any of them be traitor is kind of like a necessary break in the formula for the future of the show. However, it's rough to live through it and watch it.
Yeah, it's just you got bad luck being on this specific season because we knew it was gonna happen eventually, and it just yeah, it sucked it was this season, and unfortunately, I do think the fact that Natalie is the only gamer left will be brought up more, especially she's already has heat on her, so I'm a little obviously, we'll talk about the roundtable, but I'm a little worried. We can actually talk about her slip-ups. She had a couple Portia slip-ups. Is this normal, or Omer? Like, did you have people saying the wrong thing in your season?
I was always afraid I was going to, but nobody actually did, except I think except Meredith right at the end. And I wasn't there, but I think that Portia's was a bit different to me. Like I actually think that Ron presented quite a good case for Portia because she did it 4
I
times.
said
Like
the
it wasn't
same
like
thing.
yeah, I was like, I would have thought that too. And like, I still stand 10 toes down on what Ron said. But also, like, sometimes people truly are acting like they're traitors, even if they're not. Like, 10 toes down, I will say that Meredith acted more like a traitor than anybody else out there because it's like the constantly like talking, or planting seeds behind people's backs, but never owning it in public. Like, that's like the classic traitor move. You know what I mean? So, like, sometimes you can be I think you can be right for the wrong reasons, as Jam Jam was this episode, and you can be wrong for the right reasons as well. And I think that the Portia thing was understandable. The Natalie thing, like, I wasn't as, I mean, I think you have to look at it, but ultimately, in the context clues in the grander scheme of things, she had more things that were clearing her than the other people did. And I think also maybe that's the benefit of being a gamer because really there is no benefit, in my opinion, long term to kill a bunch of gamers if you are a trader because yes, it buys
Mm,
you very, very short term. Maybe people will be off your scent in the very short term. But on the traders, when you were wrong at the round table and people unveil, it really shocks people and they have to like change their whole mindset. And when you change your whole mindset, that's why oftentimes you'll see leaps in logic that are different from the round before because it's like people are like, I don't want to be wrong again. So I need to change the way I'm thinking. So one round, they might go for the quiet person. Then they're wrong. They're like, okay, no, we got to go for the loud person. And so if you so early kill a gamer and then people are like, okay, well, it's not them. And then you have so many rounds where people can be like, oh, maybe it was a double bluff back then because we've been wrong every time since then. And they really do go back to the well on that theory. And then there's less people for you to like hide behind, in my opinion. So and the way that Natalie plays, she's not really like that. Same with Tiffany. She's not really like that where she's gonna go after the gamers. And so the accusations about them, like Colton's argument, say what you will about him, about Tiffany, was actually like pretty like I could see where he would be coming from and why that would be a good double bluff if you didn't know Tiffany and her style of play, which clearly they didn't.
okay.
But if you know the way she plays, you know that she would not do that because it doesn't make sense for her. But this is always the case on the show where people are going to go after, and I was on the other side of it as well. Like people will look at something and then be like, well, you were too close and it's a double bluff and blah, 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 blah. And so anytime you are close to somebody who is assumed to be a traitor who gets murdered, it will always come back. You even see it now. Colton is now under suspicion for being a traitor because he got one. So it's like you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't.
It's true. It's true. There's so many little nuances to this that I forget, and I feel like I would be, I don't know. I want to back up a little bit to breakfast. So it's a nothing burger, obviously, because we saw Jam Jam get killed. But it's very much they're not happy with Rob. Lisa's like, I need your
Yeah.
support here. Candace is very pro Lisa. What how to get are you on the Rob hype train? Talk to me about Rob.
I think it's so funny because they are like not getting good signals from him and they still don't really like look into that until it's too late, you know? But I think the thing is that's interesting is I think Rob is in a tough position because he really is caught between two bad options. He either has to turn on a
Mm.
traitor or he has to turn on his alliance. And that is a huge issue in this game because if you turn on your allies and then eventually it unveils that that person was a traitor, you look really suspicious. But on the other hand, this is a game where there's no fingerprints, there are no black light samples of DNA. There is no alibis, security cameras. There's no way to actually have true evidence, which is why it annoys me so much when people are like, this is all of my evidence. No, that's your opinion. It's not the same thing.
Right.
And
They looked at me weird.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And so when you don't have any true evidence, the only evidence that actually matters is the traders because they know who the traders are. So it's always the case when one trader is unveiled, it's like a little piece of yarn on a sweater. You need to pull on it and see where it goes. That's the all the connective tissue. So even if you looked
Mm,
last week, the when Rob votes for Lisa, like why was she so much she visibly was more shaken when he did it. At least that's what I saw watching. And if
yep.
that's so it's always risky to do that because if people are actually watching and paying attention, they might pick up on that. Because why is Rob so or Lisa so upset with Rob? That's why it's risky for him to do it. And then I think when you're at the point where there's been an open betrayal and potential for more, especially given what Jam Jam said, honestly, if you're Candace and Lisa, you got to just like threaten him more, to be honest, because like if we go down, we're taking you with us, you know, and
Mm,
that might be enough to cause him to at least back down a little bit because now you can see here if somebody's really, really astute, which no, like not this cast,
who
but
is?
like they would see that Lisa's a traitor, that Candace really weirdly was vouching for her and then backed off, but then like couldn't actually commit to a side. Why does Candace vote for Rob? You know, that is now a connective tissue between all of them. And yes, there's a lot of background noise. So which thread do you pull on? But that's why it's like you need to focus on that traitor and what connected it to them. And that's how you figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to give Colton any credit here, but he did point out that he's like, "Did you guys notice how Candace kept pushing it off Lisa, off Lisa?" I listen, I know people I'm seeing a lot on Twitter of I'm assuming from the Housewives fans, I'm not sure, again, but I'm seeing a lot of Rob's an idiot, Rob's a I like Candace. I think she's great TV. I did not think this move was good for her. I didn't really
Terrible.
understand it. I think you gotta hide among the faithfuls. You can't be throwing rogue votes. That's gonna come back at you. Like I understand she wanted to put him in his place. Do that in the turret. Do that somewhere somehow
Yeah.
else. I did not understand this move from her. What did you think?
I agree. And I do think it's risky either way because at the end of the day, she is in a bad position by vouching for Lisa so hard, but also it would be weird if she didn't because she was vouching for all the housewives. And
Fair.
I feel like I was in a very similar position to Candace where I had to like defend Kevin and that really fucked me. But the alternative was turning on Kevin and they would have all thought that was weird. So you
Exactly.
it is a situation
That's
where you
true.
are damned if you do, damned if you don't. And in some ways, throwing a rogue vote makes sense, but I don't think you go so hard and then throw a rogue vote because it's like if you said it with your chest, then back yourself up, you know, don't back down. I think she put herself in a position where if she votes for Lisa, it looks weird. She put herself in a position where if she votes for Natalie, I feel like that was honestly the best option for her at that point. Like, if you're gonna go 10 toes down on
Yeah.
Natalie, then go 10 toes down. Don't take one off at the last minute. Like, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I think she should have hit among the Natalie votes, or, like, I guess this wouldn't have been great either. But once Lisa's gone now. Natalie has sus on her, but after that, like, there's just more and more people that are clearly faithfuls to me, and I feel like you gotta realize that at some point the finger's gonna be at you, and you gotta like, I would be stoking that Steven fire right now. I'd be stoking other fires if I could. I don't know. I just, yeah,
Yeah,
I didn't love that move from her, and I'm a little worried going forward because at least from the preview, it does not look like they're gonna be playing
they're
together
gonna
at
back
all. So it,
down. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I feel like they
it's one or
should.
the
Like, they
other.
really need to look at each other and be like, "This is not." And the thing that's, like, I don't love about Rob's move in some ways is that if you look at the meta, and then you have one housewife in there, she's now discovered. Do people are their first thought really gonna be it's a second one? I feel like in some ways, from the meta perspective, they would look at someone like Rob or Mora before they would look back at Candice. But what she did was so suspicious that that might override that, which would be unfortunate. And Rob
Yeah.
does benefit from the thing is Rob can play the game that he's playing because of who he is. People are not gonna like look at just if you look at the history of the show, it's gamer, 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 or maybe a housewife. There he has the luxury of being like the random Love Island himbo that doesn't have to try that hard for the first half of the game. And that's not like the natural trader order. So you can play like Rob's sister Nino could not go in and do what Rob's doing because it would look so suspicious. So I think it's
So true.
yeah, I mean, I think both Traitors Canada 3 and Traitors US 4 filmed at the exact same time. And one had a gamer conclave and the other one had no gamers in it. But I feel like the gamers are paying the invoice on both seasons for the history of the show. And maybe it'll be a reset, maybe it won't. But I feel like that's not to say that you know, Rob Roush is like not good. Like he is good, but he's also in a position where he can capitalize, whereas other people can't play that game.
That's a good point. That's a good point. He had some advantages going into the game that some other people didn't. And listen, that's not to say he's not playing because I agree. I think I've been very impressed sort of how he's just very good at keeping his cool, not changing his demeanor too much. Which I don't think is like a natural skill that people have. I always say this about Dan Giesling. I'm like, he'll be there, he'll sit there all day and he won't raise his voice. Like he just doesn't get heated like that. Um, but yeah, I want to talk about Rob and this dagger situation. I mean, I guess the mission we could talk about. I didn't love that it was super physical because like that was obviously going to be. It was kind of obvious that a lot of the guys were going to be there, right? Like it wasn't going. Doreen does not
Yeah,
look
yeah,
like
mercifully.
so. Eh,
Dorinda looking like she's having some quality of life issues, honestly. But
oh my god.
but she is. I don't know. Yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of it either, but I was also like kind of zoning out of that part because I thought it was kind of boring.
Yeah. We we saw Colton and Rob are way more in lockstep than I feel like this episode really solidified it. We had seen, pieces of that. But it's interesting because I'm like, Rob's got Colton and Natalie, both who have sus around him, trusting him. I don't know. Is there a way that Rob does not
Very
win this
smart.
game? It's like,
Yeah, it's a good
yes,
point. And I
yes.
think, but the thing is, sometimes I feel like he's in a really good position because, when people turn on that group, like you said, there's two people ahead of him, which is really, really good. Um, but the thing is, this game is so random at times that when people are wrong, they're just going to go in a completely random direction. They might be like, oh my God, why are there two Love Island people still here? Or, oh, if it wasn't Colton, maybe it's his best friend. Like, people will just come up with the most random shit at the most random time. But what I like about what he's doing is that he is trying to be as insulated as possible because there's, I personally feel that survivors maybe like 40% luck, 60% skill, maybe 35, 65. I do really feel that Traders is kind of like 80% luck, 20% skill.
Yeah.
But he's taking that, and that's if you're faithful. I think if you're a trader, your odds are a little bit better than that skill wise. But I feel like he is taking almost every opportunity. And even in a situation where he had a no win situation, I think he did do the right thing by turning on Lisa. But I think that he has maximized his success at every turn to where
Mm,
his winner equity percentage is like so much higher because he's been making good decisions. And that can't be said for every player all the time. So I think he definitely
I
could win.
agree.
But the only danger here is that him and Candace going head to head, it's going to look traitor on traitor with Lisa, which if
Yep.
she gets banished, that's bad for him, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm actually wondering, I hadn't even thought about this. At some point, are they gonna recruit, whether it's now or when there's one person left, or no?
So they could seduce now, um, which is the offer for
Yeah,
that could be turned down, or when there's one of them left, then they have to it's a blackmail, so they somebody
yeah.
has to join them. So I think, in their position now, I just don't think that there's anybody that they'll be able to agree on that will benefit
No
both of
way.
them. And so I think they will murder over that. But also, what he's also doing to maximize his success is he has a dagger. So if people do come at him, he can pull that out at the right time and be safe. What he has to be careful of, though, is that if too many of the people around him are safe, that could
Mm,
at some point lead people like if you go to the final 4 or 5 or whatever, and you have a situation where it's Rob, his closest person is Colton, or Colton's closest person is Rob. Natalie's quite close to both Colton and Rob. Mora is connected to Rob. That's going to be an issue for him if they are smart enough. So he does kind of have to sacrifice one of them at some point to a murder, in my opinion. But I don't know. Hopefully, he knows that.
I hate to say it, but I was, like, looking at the preview, and the next banishment roundtable, they showed a bunch of people. So it's like, okay, clearly
Ooh,
John Johnny's not murdered, Mara's not murdered, Natalie's not murdered, Dorinda and Kristen, they're all at the next roundtable. So, is it Steven? Is it Eric? It's gotta
and
be, like, one of them,
presumably
right?
Candace.
Mark?
It must be Eric then. Yeah, Eric or Mark, maybe, because they're just kind of, it wouldn't really
Maybe
connect anybody to anybody.
that's all they could agree on?
Yeah,
Maybe.
yeah, yeah. Which Eric is kind of in with that group a little bit, so maybe that would take a little bit of suspicion off of him.
That's true. He's definitely a Rob number at this point.
Yeah.
I wanna talk about that dagger. First, what did you think of Rob's lie detecting skills?
I'm not gonna lie, I want you to tell me because I kinda zoned out in that one.
I mean, it was just, like, a lot of it was a little slow. Like, okay, we get it. Like, and I thought, Natalie, I love you, Natalie, but you weren't looking him in the eye. So I was like, okay, maybe it is Natalie.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But yeah, it was fine, I guess. But I did think the way that he was speaking to people and making that pact did make him seem very faithful. I don't know. What did you think about the pact situation before you go into the
Yeah.
castle?
I think it was good because he was trying to insulate himself from the housewives a little bit, but his whole the best thing about Rob and his game so far has been that he hasn't been that pushy or that much of a leader or that much of a thinker. So I think at some point he overtly anyways, So I think that if he unleashes too much strategy, then people might come back on him. But I think what he did there was good, but he just needs to know that he should also stay in his lane about what his like role is,
Um,
because
yeah,
yeah, if people do, you know, if all his alliance members stay, then maybe if he's the least threatening of them, he can just be like, well, it could be any of us because we're all working together. Like that is kind of the benefit of having an alliance on traders that has a trader in it, is that, and that's kind of what I was trying to do is like, if Ty, Venus, Kevin, and I can each get 2 or 3 people, and then we have a big group that votes together, then they're protected, we're protected, and it really could be any of us because none of us are getting murdered, and that's still a big group to hide within. So if Rob, the only way that Rob wouldn't have to necessarily sacrifice one of those people is if they all stick together kind of towards the end, and then it really could be any of them, and then people may turn on Colton and Natalie before him, especially if he can
yeah,
like
that's a
really
great
marinate
point.
Mora. Like if he can really, I feel like Mora could be the one that gets him the win.
No, Maura is definitely getting him the win. She's
Yes.
wrapped around her finger, like, to the
Yeah.
point where and listen, Maura is serving looks, okay? I love her. I love how she kinda shut Dorinda down at the round table tonight.
Yeah.
But it's come on, girl. Think for yourself for a second. So
I did like that she told Michael to stop talking.
Yes, I did too. Love that. Um, so Rob, uh, he has this dagger for 4 round tables. Does it matter if it gets out? Because are people really gonna keep this a secret?
It's a good question. I feel like so the people that knew were Natalie and Rob, or sorry, Natalie and Colton, they're definitely going to keep it a secret. I think that
Yep.
Eric probably will keep it a secret, and if he gets murdered, then whatever. And then Steven, I think, is the wild card. Steven might say something, so they have to make him feel comfortable. But a bunch of people are starting to go for Steven, including Colton. But if he can make Steven think that he might use that dagger for his service, then perhaps he'll keep it under wraps. And who is there anybody else? Or is that all that knows?
And Mark,
Oh, Mark. Yeah, I mean, that could be a problem too. So I
because he's
think
really close with Kristen.
right, right. He probably will tell her. So yeah, I think it is going to get out, and that could be a problem. But also, it's just one extra vote. Who cares? It might not be great to
Yeah,
hold it all the way, but people aren't that threatened
I
by
was
it, anyways.
yeah, I guess I didn't think he was gonna have the votes for Lisa tonight for a second because I thought Natalie was in such a bad spot, so I was kind of surprised for a second that he didn't even use it tonight, but also I understand, yeah, he wants to hold on to it. Did you when we got to the round table, did you know which way it was going?
I thought it could go. I thought it was actually going to come down to the dagger vote, and so when he didn't play that, I was like a little bit like, "What's going on?" But then, as the votes kept getting revealed, especially with the first vote that was supposed to vote with Lisa that didn't. I was like, oh, they really probably just downplayed how bad her arguments were because it's very clear that nobody bought it. And so the vibe sitting there was probably that it wasn't going to go well for her. And so I think whether he
Mm,
was going to use it or not after that vibe check, probably you don't need to.
okay, yeah, do you feel like Natalie how did you think Natalie defended herself at the round table, and do you think Rob sort of helped Natalie there, or do you think Lisa tanked her own game? Or
I
both
think
maybe?
it was both. I definitely think it was both, but I think that Natalie definitely did way better at the round table than she was doing prior to the round table. But the thing is also sometimes people just have their minds made up. You could tell when she was talking to Tara that Tara had her mind made up about Natalie, and it wasn't no matter what she said, it wasn't going to change. And so I think Natalie's missteps were more so related to how she handled the antidote. But also, if
Yeah,
she had been the one that was murdered, you know, then it would have been great. So I think that it's hard
results
to
oriented.
exactly, exactly. So I think that she did a pretty good job, but I think that Lisa did a worse job.
Yes, agree. I'm curious. I mean, Colton is throwing out theories about Steven, and then Johnny's suspecting Colton. I also think people think I'm curious if people are gonna think maybe Lisa versus Natalie could have betrayed her on Traitor. I feel like there's a lot going on. I actually want to point out I loved when Natalie kind of I was scared for Natalie. She goes, "You don't care if I'm a faithful honey," like, speaking to Lisa Rinna, and I was, like, rooting. I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh my god, this is amazing," but I was, like, also scared. I was like, "Oh my god, she just called her honey,
Yeah.
like, this is not gonna be good." It was great TV.
I gotta see her throw that wine glass
Um,
again. I saw the gif of that.
oh, yes. But I agree. I liked Natalie's argument. I thought she kind of, unlike Colton, was kind of, apologetic. She said she went into fight or flight mode. Like, I thought the things that she was saying were very good, and she sort
Yeah.
of backed down a little bit, but do I think that's
Yeah.
gonna buy her a ton of time? Maybe not, but I thought she handled that round table pretty well.
Yeah. I agree. Especially because like
Mm.
and I think that the thing that benefited Natalie truthfully is that she also had time to prepare. She wasn't blindsided at the table. And same with Lisa. Lisa had the same opportunity and Lisa didn't do as well with it. But it is actually very hard to sit there and get like I feel for Tiffany in her spot. Because I was there, like getting blindsided by how much the train is against you is actually like very like hard in that moment to know what to do and just get your bearings straight. And so I think that Natalie's a very smart strategist. So having a bit of a heads up that her name was on the block probably allowed her to gather her thoughts and formulate a good defense. And Lisa had the same opportunity, but Lisa comes from a world that's not like strategy like. I mean, I guess maybe it is to be a housewife. I don't know, but I feel like that's more like social um or like TV drama, I guess. That's
Mm.
it's different than
But
strategic
she has good
play.
comebacks. Yeah,
Yeah.
she has good comebacks, I feel like insulting things, but not like
Yeah.
actual like strategic evidence, if that makes sense?
Yes, yes, or like
Um,
sense of how to defend herself probably. Like, I think that she was just going about it the wrong way. Like sometimes, like again, for instance, don't deny giving him a kiss. It's just like, yeah, and what about it?
yeah.
Like that is really the way to go.
Yep, I agree that she held on to that, especially because people witnessed it at that point. I'm like, "Come on, just, like,
Yeah,
let it go." Um,
right, right.
but, we get to the end of the episode, and this is really what I think is setting up for the rest of the game here with Candace versus Rob. All we see is them take off their hoods, and he goes, "Good evening," and, in the preview, we see that they're not gonna be on the same page. So what do you predict we will see happen?
I think
Any
we're gonna
idea?
get a Candace versus Rob Showdown, and I think that Candace is probably gonna lose because I don't think she is bringing the right ammunition to the fight, and it will be a little bit triggering because, Candace is to Lisa as I feel like I was to Kevin, except I wasn't a traitor, and going the route of, like, it is really hard to be that person that's closest to the traitor that got eliminated. The microscope is so much on you, and that's the other annoying thing, which, again, they may be right for the wrong reasons in this case, or some of them for the right reasons because Candace was kind of suspicious. But just because people are close to a traitor, it does not make them a traitor. Like, that's the leaps of logic that people take in this game are so annoying. Like, the other one that gets me almost every time is like, oh, that person was wrong about that person, so they must be a traitor. Like Ron, like it was perfectly reasonable for Ron to think it was
Yeah,
Portia.
true.
And also, um, if you're a smart trader, you're not going to say stuff. Like you just sit in the background. So people that are loud and wrong, that's like a normal thing. And for people to be like, well, they had to have been a trader because they were wrong about X, Y, or Z, it's just like so stupid. And the reverse is also happens where, oh, they were right about the trader, so they have to be a trader. Like people, I don't know, people are dumb.
Yeah, this is why I don't know think I could do this show because I feel like if people had such stupid evidence, I'd be, like, laughing in their face and probably offending
Yeah.
them because I'm like, "What are you talking about? Like, seriously? Like, is this a joke?"
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think, in terms of the end game, now that Lisa's out, d I feel like Colton's okay. Everyone loves Colton. What do you think about Colton's game?
I mean, it's been very annoying to watch, but I mean, he is okay. So I think it's mixed. I think he's better than people give him credit for online because he is able to have a group of people he's working with that are very loyal to him. And you don't get that just by being shitty at everything. However, he's just so arrogant and so entitled. And I think that that's what annoys me watching him. Like the whole mantra of, oh, what am I going to do? Just sit back and not say anything? When people are like, maybe you should tone it down after you got Tiffany so fucking wrong and sit back and
That's
shut
what
up.
I said. Yes.
Yes, and you
Yeah.
should do that if you are so fucking obviously wrong. But his arrogance of like, well, I'm so entitled to be the one, to be the voice of the people and play the game so hard. And um, I need to make my mark on this game. It's like everybody here is trying to make their mark on the game. Like, sit down and shut the fuck up if you were so fucking wrong. But he just has such a entitlement in a way that I find off putting. But I don't think he's as bad as everybody says, but I think he's been annoying.
Yeah, I feel like the last 2 episodes, he's kinda took it to definitely in this episode, he told us on in a confessional, he's gonna take a step back. I think that was the right move. I think let other people I don't like the man, I think he's annoying as hell, and I think he's on a high horse about God knows what, but yeah, I can objectively say, okay, he's playing a little better than he was. Um, but yeah, in terms of let's say Candace goes out. I don't know if Candace goes out at the next banishment or the following one. I think we'll see. Who would Rob seduce or who would Rob, recruit?
Good question. So if Candace goes out and it's up to him to recruit, I think that he's got to pick whoever has the most, like someone like Steven would be really good because he's getting a little bit of heat on him. He needs to just pick somebody that has more heat on him than not, or pick Colton, because Colton is such a big personality. They'll work together and he'll always get banished before Rob, and that could explain why they're all safe, like that's I think that Colton could be his final kind of pawn, in his game.
Mm. To be honest, I would love that. I would
Yeah.
love that to happen and then Colton get cut at the end, and, I think at this point, I would be fine with a Rob win. I think I'm looking at the people left here. I mean, some of them are probably gonna get killed, but, Mark has some interest, once in a while, he says something that's intelligent. Eric, I actually think Eric's been fun, but he has not a lot of strategy there. Kristen, love Kristen, but we just don't see a lot of her. And then Moore is like in Rob's back pocket. He's not recruiting Moore. That would be dumb, right?
Oh, yeah. She's got to be the patsy at the end, unfortunately for her. I think she could
Anything
be
else from
useful as
the
a
episode
patsy
that we didn't
or
talk
as the
about?
murderer. I think she could be useful as a patsy, but also as a murder because it's
What do
like,
you
why would he
mean?
vote out you? Like if he murders her,
Oh,
like
yeah,
towards the end of the
to
game,
throw people off.
yeah, it's like, well, Rob wouldn't do that. You know what I mean? Like, I really, actually, the more I think about it, really am obsessed with the move of recruiting Colton and then throwing him to the wolves at the end. But the thing is, Colton's not going to think that Rob is that cutthroat, and so he'll be lulled into like the false sense of
Right.
security, and then he'll get bamboozled. Like, I think that that would be so fucking funny. But what was your question again?
Who's at the end then? No, I was just thinking because I'm like, what else from the episode did we not talk about? Were there any scenarios? What about Tara and Johnny? What are your thoughts on those two?
I think that Johnny was really quiet, and then now all of a sudden he's playing a bigger game. Some of the things he's saying are annoying for strategy reasons. Like his like reasoning is not always great, but I do like that he's like trying to actively play, especially as an Olympian. You could have just come here and been quiet or uninteresting, and at least you're trying to do something. I don't think he's cooking the way he thinks he is, but it's something. Tara, I'm sure, is an Olympic legend, not bringing that much to the season so far, but there's still time.
Yeah, yeah.
They could
I
be
kinda
actually
feel
the
that way about Steven
springboards.
too, Johnny and Steven.
Yeah, but I feel like
That's
they
true.
they could be,
That's a good
because
point.
Tara and Johnny are really tight. They could kind of bounce between like Housewives and Colton's group, and they almost voted with the Housewives tonight until, like, I think Johnny was switched at the last second, but I think the power is swinging too much one way that they need to even it out a bit, and they really should be going for the pendulum strategy as outlined by Survival Millennials versus Gen X. Like, they need to even it out a bit, I feel like.
Yeah, actually, I was surprised they didn't vote together this round. I guess Johnny was swayed last minute, but, because I always thought, "Okay, that's definitely like a voting block."
Didn't
But
Tara wait,
eh,
who did Tara vote for?
Tara
Oh, Tara
voted
voted for Natalie.
for Natalie and Johnny switched to Lisa.
Yeah, but he was going in voting for Natalie,
Yeah, yeah.
allegedly.
Actually, Tara was the only one that voted for Natalie other than Lisa,
Wait,
which
who did Dorinda
kinda
vote for?
surprising. Mora, and she spelled it Mariah or something. She
Oh,
spelled it so weird.
Dorinda, you idiot. Okay.
Like, why did she throw that vote at her just because they got in an argument?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I don't think there's that much going
Oh,
on there.
I feel so
The
bad
real
because
tea
I
is
was
how
like,
much Ron
"Why?"
hates Dorinda.
Oh my god, what is going on? Whew.
We wanna know, Ron. Release the tapes.
I know. I wish they probably won't let me ask. I'm actually talking to Ron now next week. That was a whole thing.
Oh.
Um, but I don't know how much he'll go in. I don't know. This press thing is weird because, like, they literally cut you off at 8 minutes, and then, like, Ron's on, like, an hour-long podcast that probably wasn't approved. You know what I mean? Like, some random
Oh,
press.
shit. Damn, alright.
So, who knows?
8 minutes, my
Um,
god.
yeah, I was talking to Jam Jam today for literally 8 minutes, like, uh, you can't get anything in 8 minutes, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Um,
Any highlights?
but yeah, um, I asked about obviously, I think, not tension between him and Rob's sister Nina, but, like, obviously there was something there, and I just watched Rob's interview with Jam Jam, which I definitely recommend checking out. There's
Oh,
definitely tension
interesting.
there, and yes,
Ooh,
but
tension.
it was surprising because Jam Jam seemed to walk it back a bit, and I actually was kind of proud of Rob because Rob never comes off to me as like confrontational, but he said, he goes, "Listen, I didn't appreciate when you said that." And like he kind of I was like, "Okay, yeah, I like that we're talking about this." So,
Yeah.
who knows?
Okay, I know what I'm doing when I get off of this call.
Yeah, it's very interesting, especially because he was on the show and now he's interviewing them. It's such like an interesting perspective.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I just wonder if
Uh,
Jam Jam, like, says stuff but doesn't think about it in the same way as other people do. Like, I think objectively watching the interaction, it's like Jam Jam is really throwing Rob under the bus from what we saw at least. Like, it's like very
that's what
clear.
I
Well,
thought.
but it's like very clear that that what he said really was like fucking Rob over. But at the same time, I genuinely think that Jam Jam didn't mean it like that. But that's definitely the effect, but maybe not the intention?
Yeah, I actually thought it was his intention in the beginning, and now the more that I've seen of him and the more I've seen interviews and stuff, I kind of agree. I think he's just like this boisterous kind of person, wants to like getting to know people. Probably, I guess he just didn't know how it came across. I probably would not I would have read the room a little bit and not done that, but whatever, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Um but yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I mean, before we wrap up, Omar, I do gotta get your opinion. Have you watched any Survivor season 50 interviews, or have you caught clips or anything? And what do you think?
I've
Any
caught
first
some
impressions?
clips. I think it's actually like kind of cool. I saw a Jenna Lewis interview and it was like really cool. Like this is like way back from the one where she called Christian Hubicki Chucky,
Oh
which
my god,
was
yes. I forget whose
so
interview that was,
funny.
but it was so good.
Which one of yours are out yet? Because I'll check them out. I just haven't had time to do them all yet, but I do want to. And you know what? I will say I was a little bit like maybe I won't want to engage at all because like maybe it'll be a sore
Yeah.
subject. But I am kind of excited now, so I will be checking stuff out. But what have you released so far?
So I've released 6 interviews so far. I did Jenna and Mike White. Jenna was on fire. Jenna was like a spitball. Like she's naming
Yeah,
everyone as
yeah.
a Marvel character. And then I got Angelina, who I love Angelina. Q was out of control. Did you see what he said about Emily Flippin?
Yeah, 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 yeah. That was so
That was
funny about the pork. That was so funny. Q is so funny. I would have loved to work with him just because it would just be so hilarious. But chaos.
chaos, chaos. So can't wait for that. And then today I dropped Suri and Coach. Obviously, Coach is very Coach. I Suri throws some shade at Carolyn. Uh,
Oh, wait, what was the
so there's a
shade?
little Well, I guess Carolyn had said when she was dropped from 50 that they had to make room for the grannies or something and, like,
Oh,
cut a clip of Cirie or something, and Cirie's like, "Well, they didn't wanna you basically, you went on Traitors and they weren't happy but with you. I went on Traitors and won, and I still get asked back," kind of thing, like so,
oh,
it's
that's so crazy.
fun. Uh, yeah, so if anyone wants to check that out, it's on the exclusive, it's streaming everywhere, it's also on YouTube, and next week I'll have 5 more interviews going up, so and
Okay,
you
who
can
was your
read them on
favorite interview?
menschjournal.com too.
I'm gonna check them out, but who was your
Favorite.
favorite interview? I'm not gonna check all of them out because
I
I don't want to hear
mean,
from someone, but
I think I also wanna preface this by saying, guys, we did 24 interviews, 27 if you include producers, in 2 days in, like, a 6-hour span. Like, I was so tired by the end that, like, I do think, even as an interviewer, you just get, like, eyes are glazed over. I might not have had the same energy in some than others, but in terms of that, I thought Jenna Lewis surprised me the most, just with her, like, ready to go-ness. Q didn't surprise me, but he had me dying laughing the entire
yeah.
time. So I did release some of my better ones first. Trying to think who else, like, who are you excited to see?
I'm excited to see. Oh, I feel like we need to go name a bunch of them. I mean, if I don't name you here, it's not because it's just like what's coming top of mind. But like, I am very excited for Jenna Lewis. I am starting for the old school. Like, I'm excited for Jenna Lewis. I'm excited. I would be more excited for Colby if Jerry was there. I'm excited about Aubrey because I
Yeah.
really liked her on her seasons, or mostly her first one was like amazing, and then the other ones were good too. But like, Ko Wrong Aubrey was like peak. I'm excited for Suri as well. And I'm excited for from the new era. Like it is going to be fun to watch Jonathan again because we played very closely together. So it's like deja vu. And so to see what he can if he can like learn from before. And then also I think in some ways he has more of a strategy than people think. And so it'll be interesting to see how that
Mhm.
plays out. Christian, I mean the David Goliath versus Goliath trio, Emily Flippin, D is gonna be fun. Genevieve and Camilla, the sneaky Canadians. So I think it is gonna be fun overall.
Mm. I was most walking out of those interviews, I was most worried about Genevieve. I felt like she had again, I don't know people's all these connections, but it seemed like a lot of people were unsure of her. She showed up with this great haircut. She's got this like this red
Bob.
blazer, and everyone's like, "Whoa, yes, the bob." It was so iconic. So but she's on a tribe with Stephanie, Angelina. I don't know. Let's see.
Thing is that
Christian.
that
Okay,
Genevieve is oh yeah, you said you
go
weren't
ahead.
like a huge Christian gal, but then how did you feel interviewing him?
I mean, I was won over, of course. The guy's so
Of
charming.
course,
Like,
yeah.
what?
Yeah, yeah. No, he is really fun, and then also but with the thing with Genevieve is that she's so charming when you just would speak with her, and so, everything can change. Like, people can give off resting bitch face or, like, cold energy, but then when you speak with them, it can be very different, and sometimes that's even better because then it's like they have low expectations, and when you speak with them, it's like, "Whoa, like, that's crazy," and but I think the thing that's interesting about her position is she's one of the least connected people there, and I feel like that could go either way because people might want to scoop you up as a number because you have, and same with Rizzo and
Yep.
Savannah would have that advantage as well to some extent, although they know each other. But the downside of it is when the cast is so big, maybe that isn't as beneficial because then, if people are looking for an easy out and everybody's connected to everybody and you're not, then that could be bad. So I think it could go, I think it's dependent on how she plays. And because she is so charming, I have to like bet on her skills.
Yeah, that's a good point. Um, I don't know. I think Joe, Camille, and Kyle, I was probably not I don't wanna say least excited to talk to, but, like, they just played and there
They
wasn't,
just
like,
played, yeah,
too
yeah.
much I and listen, I think Camilla's so funny, like, I love chatting with her. D, I actually also really love D. Like, something
Yeah,
about
yeah, yeah,
D,
he's
I just
very charming, yeah.
vibed with her. I already knew she was a good player, but I was, like, even more sure of, like, "Oh, that's why she won." Like, I could just see, um so
What was
yeah,
it
it
like
was fun.
what was it like interviewing people that you never have even seen on the show before? Because you
Wait, like
interviewed
who?
Savannah and Rizzo, right?
Yes, so that was interesting because Rizzo was my Mike White was my first interview, by the way, and I was like, "Of course, they give me fucking Mike White."
Yeah.
And he actually cried in my interview. A bunch of people cried in the interview, but Mike White teared up. He was great. Rizzo was my second interview. He saw me, like, down the path, and he goes, "Oh, Sharon, I subscribed to your podcast." So I immediately liked Rizzo because he subscribes.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Um, but I didn't everyone was like, "Oh, this guy's, like, 13, like, why is he here? Like, he
But
must
he's
have
older
done
than he
something."
looks. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But what was it
Yeah,
like?
is he
What
what
would
is
you
he,
ask him when
26?
you didn't know anything that happened?
That's a good question. I don't think I had the most intelligent questions to ask because this is the other thing. We're not allowed to ask about 49. So, like, it is very hard to come up with questions where you can't talk about their season. Like, I will say
Yeah,
Savannah
yeah,
Savannah told me, and I think she told everyone that she was gonna be very upfront with her placement, which I thought was smart. Well, I don't know. We'll see how it plays out, but I thought it was smart because literally everyone in my interviews said, "Oh, that girl definitely won. You
yeah.
can just tell how she's carrying herself. She won."
They're just saying it, like,
So
literally, it, like, leaked to everybody before they went that she had won. So it was like, I
yeah.
think she could not have lied, you know what I mean? Because everybody would have known.
Also, the tribes splits, like, having 2 other winners, it's like, they're kinda setting her up.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
But it was definitely a harder interview to do, but I think Savannah's very charming. She's been on camera before. She's a fellow reporter, so I feel like I vibed with her. It's very hard to come up with questions. That's all. So those interviews weren't
Yeah,
as
yeah, but it is like a unique, it's like a unique experience to like talk with people that have already done the whole thing, and you can't talk about it, but it's like they're about to go back to back. Like that is a very unique experience. It doesn't happen very often. So cool.
Yeah, and only other thing I was gonna say about that is you have a bunch of old school people who are on Heroes versus Villains and dealt with Russell Hantz, and not
Right.
knowing him being Yam Yam,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
a lot of them mentioned that with Rizzo and Savannah that, like, "We don't want you here, we've dealt with this shit before, like, you
yeah,
gotta go."
for sure, for
So
sure, for sure.
but Omar, this has been great. Thank you so much for joining me.
Yes, thank you for having me. A pleasure as always.